Hmm. All right, I think we've got Coach Lanning is on. Do we have Coach Cignetti yet?
On.
Hey, how you doing, Coach? Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Fantastic. All right. As media continue going, got about another minute here, but I'll go ahead and welcome everybody to the joint head coach press conference for the college football playoff semifinal game at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Today we'll be joined by both of our head coaches and Peach Bowl CEO Gary Stokan. After opening statements, we'll go to questions from the media. If you have a question, please use the raise hand feature in the reactions tab. When called on, please unmute your line, ask your question. Remember to identify yourself and your affiliation, and then remute your line, please. All right. Coach Lanning, have we got you on board?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Okay, well, at this time, we're joined by head coach Dan Lanning of the number 5 Orange Bowl champion Oregon Ducks and coach Curt Cignetti of the number 1 ranked Rose Bowl champion Indiana Hoosiers, and Gary Stokan, CEO and president of Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. So, Gary, we'll go ahead and start with a quick opening remark from you.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Welcome, Curt. Welcome, Dan. Congratulations on a great season. And we look forward to hosting you in Atlanta, the capital of college football, in the 58th Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl CFP semifinal game. We were founded back in 1968 as the ninth oldest bowl game, but the first bowl game founded for charity. And it's a big part of our mission. We've given over $70 million to charity using college football for the greater good. And this year we'll donate over $5 million. Part of that $5 million will be an endowed scholarship to each of your universities. $100,000 we will endow to the University of Indiana and University of Oregon in our John Lewis Legacy of Courage scholarships that is earmarked for Title I kids in Atlanta and Georgia who are kids that don't have the money to go to college, and in many cases are the first kids ever in their whole generation to go to college. So just know that this is more than just a CFP playoff game. It's something for charity as well, and we take that humbly very proud. So welcome again. Congratulations. Also, congratulations to Scott Dolson and to Rob Mullins. We look forward to hosting the Indiana and Oregon families, as well as teams, administration, and fans and media to Atlanta. Thank you, Matt.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate that. All right. Final reminder. After opening comments from the coaches, we'll take questions. So please get in the queue now. And last chance to make sure that your name and outlet are labeled appropriately on your screen. So at this point, we'll go ahead and take an opening statement from Oregon head coach Dan Lanning. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, honored to be here. Certainly honored to get to participate in the Peach Bowl. Gary, appreciate everything that you do. Got an unbelievable amount of respect for Coach Cignetti and the job that he's done at Indiana. you watch this team on film. Obviously, we got to experience it firsthand. This is one of, if not the best coach teams in college football. They play with unbelievable technique. They challenge you in every facet and special teams, defensively, offensively. They've got great quarterback play, which I think is a secret to being in this position that they're in. And you watch this group, they play together. They've got great answers. They do what they do extremely well. And on defense, they challenge you in every way. They give you a lot of different looks. But this is just a group that's obviously playing their best football now. You saw that in their most recent game. And again, just honored to get the opportunity to go share a field with Coach and the job that he's done there.
All right, thank you for that, Coach. All right, now, Coach Cignetti, we'll take an opening remark from you, please.
Yeah, excited to be a part of the Peach Bowl. Great cause. It'd be a great venue. Playing a great opponent, Oregon. Coach Lanning. I said so before when we played earlier in the year. One of the young superstars, in the coaching profession. I think they're 26-2 the last 2 years, and really an excellent football team, offense, defense, and special teams. Do a great job of coaching. Be a big challenge. We were fortunate to win the game out in Eugene. It's hard to beat a great team twice. Very difficult. So edged Oregon there, but ought to be a great game. Looking forward to the challenge.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll go ahead and jump right into questions. Keep it rolling. Let's lead off with Zach Neal. Go ahead, Zach.
Zachary Neal, USA Today. Dan, quite simply, where is your team better? Where have you guys improved since the first time you saw Indiana this year?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of different facets. I won't get into every detail, Zach, but you watch both these teams. Neither one of us are the same team that you saw earlier in the season when we played each other. And I think we've grown in a lot of different ways, found different strengths. As your team changes, you change and you adapt to your strengths of your team, and you see the same thing with Indiana.
All right, let's go next to Jeff Rabjones. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, this is for Coach Lanning. I'm curious, when you go against Brian Haynes' defense, he was very good against you guys, and then they did it for the rest of the season. When you, as a head coach, study them on team, you see what out of that defense that makes them as elite as they are?
Yeah, it's, in a lot of ways you'd call it an illusion defense. They show you one thing and they take something else away. They're really good at post-snap movements, which makes it difficult for the quarterback. Their defense of line plays with relentless effort. They're tough to block up front. And then the technique, continues to show up. They've got, a guy basically playing quarterback there at linebacker that's able to get them lined up and execute. They've got, a strong corner there in Pons. They fly to the ball and they attack it in the air. Probably the best zone vision break defense I've seen this year in college football. They do an unbelievable job there and they get hats, and obviously it all starts with stopping the run. They do a great job with that.
All right, we'll go next to Mike Schumann from Daily Hoosier. Go ahead, Mike.
Kurt, I wanted to ask you about Devin Boykin. He's kind of a guy that, from the outside looking in, has been kind of flying under the radar, but had a massive game at the Rose Bowl. And I know he's been kind of, surging over the course of the season. What can you say about just the value that he brings to this team?
He's a really smart player. He knows all three safety positions. He's made a number of big plays for us. Played a lot of football at NC State, was a quarterback in high school. Got great ball skills. Good special teams player as well. And, he's a veteran. We've got a lot of veterans back there, which helps. Played a lot of football. But he's one of the leaders in the back end.
Thanks for that. All right, next we'll go to Bill Trocchi from Sporting News. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, excuse me. This is for Dan. You said Indiana gives you a lot of multiple or different looks, post-snap looks. How has Dante Moore kind of progressed in that area throughout the season?
Experience. Experience. You got to remember when we played earlier in the season, Dante hadn't played a ton of games. And, as you play an entire season, you get exposed to a lot of different looks. You learn from those moments. And Dante's certainly learned from a lot of those moments, what he's seen. He's been obviously a great player for us and done an unbelievable job, but he's not the same player as he was earlier in this year. And what they do on defense is really difficult. You have to be willing to take what they give you at times. They do a great job of protecting against shots, but I think Dante's been a really good decision maker throughout the year, and that'll be something that's really important in this game.
All right, next we'll go to Michael Niziolik. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, Curt, you mentioned the challenge of beating a great team twice, and I think the last time you had a rematch as a head coach wasn't was 2016 at IUP. Just wanted to get your perspective on that, the rematch, the challenges, and as somebody who appreciates the process, is that something that you feel like you'll enjoy, kind of planning for a great team twice?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more of a psychological edge, maybe. The one team that came up a little short, a little added edge, so to speak. But at the end of the day, it's determined by what goes on between the white lines. It'll be a tremendous challenge because Oregon, they're very well coached and they got good players. They're explosive on offense. They run the ball really well. They're very balanced. The line does a good job, and then they spread it around the pass game, use all 52 yards, and defensively, great speed, fly the ball, multiple hats. They've got a scheme where they keep you off balance with your pre-snap reads. They're huge inside, and the edge guys can really rush the passer. And their teams are good. So second time around, we're both going to watch the tape of the first game, see what we did well, see what we didn't do well. And maybe some wrinkles. Both teams will have some wrinkles, obviously, and both teams have sort of morphed since that game because it was a while back. You put the best plan together you can, but at the end of the day, it's which team executes the best plan play out.
All right, we'll go next to Matt Prem from 247. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, Dan, kind of a full circle moment for you here. The first game you coached was going to be in this building, and you obviously talked about how driving that game was and that result was for this program. 4 years later, how much does that still drive this outcome, the direction of this program and where it's going right now?
We're a different team now, but I remember that game very vividly. 49-3 wasn't fun, right? It was a good baptism into coaching, and we're a completely different group now. But this will be as much of a challenge as that game was when you're playing a team like Indiana.
All right, we'll go next to Dan Tortora. Go ahead, Dan.
This is for both coaches. We hear a lot about quarterback play, but the offensive line is where the protection comes from to create those opportunities. Just what each of you can say about your offensive line's evolution and execution this season.
All right, let's start with Coach Cignetti this time, please.
No, I think the one thing that helps us with pass protection is the balance that we have on offense. We run the ball well. Oregon does too. We both average over 200 yards a game. We both run it more than 50% of the time. So the pressure's not on the line to be in constant pass pro mode. And obviously the quick throws, advantage throws, and RPOs are built in as well. So our line's been very consistent. We got a bunch of guys that have played together for a long time. Bob Bostad does a tremendous job with those guys. Our running backs do a nice job with pass pro as well. So, and we try to mix the passes up. So we got the quick stuff when we get out of the hand and then the longer developing stuff. But I think when you can run the ball, that really helps your pass game.
Coach Lanning?
Yeah, I certainly agree with Coach. I think you look if a team's good at one thing, there's the ability to take it away. And you look at both of our teams, you see a team that's multiple. In a sense, the way they're able to run it, the way they're able to throw screen game. We both have intermediate passing game as well as shots. And I think it's about when you are going to take those plays and make those plays, making sure that you're protected. And that's something that Indiana's done a great job. People that have tried to be aggressive against them, you see them take advantage of that, right? They get the hats in there to protect and they take advantage of a one-on-one matchup. But our O-line, Coach Terry's done a great job all season, our entire offensive staff of, game planning those opportunities. This last game against Texas Tech, the rush was able to take advantage of us at times. So I think that'll be a little bit of a chip on our guy's shoulder. There's some opportunities that we can be better there and how we hold the pocket and how we take care of the ball. But ultimately, you see two teams that are really complete. And like Coach said, it really starts with the run game.
All right, we'll go next to James Crepia. Go ahead, James.
Yes, for both coaches, starting with Curt. How different is from what you saw in the Orange Bowl, what Oregon's coverages were in the Orange Bowl compared to what you saw back in October. And for Dan, who and what prompted those changes, not just relative to October, but even over the course of the season.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm seeing some different things, some different techniques, but also with the college football calendar the way it is, we have 13 portal guys on campus right now. So from 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock, my Oregon prep got cut a little bit short. So, I'm going to pick up on that later this evening. But philosophically, core, base, they look very similar to what they did. There are some new things showing up, but the bottom line is, they got guys inside. They do a good job stopping the run. They don't give up many yards rushing. They can put heat on the passer outside and with their pressure package, and they do a good job covering and swarming the ball, and they do a nice job pre-snap of disguising their coverages.
Yeah, and just to build up that sentiment, first I tell you, Coach Cignetti, keep focusing on those portal guys. I want to have a great roster next year. We're going through the same thing here. So I already did a breakfast with some recruits this morning. It is what it is, right? But I think on defense, you always have to adapt a little bit more to the team you're playing. And I'd say, regardless of what the game is, you want to try to take away their strengths. Some of the stuff that we did previous game was built to the strengths of Texas Tech. Some of the stuff we'll do in this game have to be built around the strengths of Indiana and what we have to do there. So hopefully we always are multiple and can pitch different looks. But you also have to, ride the horse that got you here and do what you do well.
All right, we'll go next to Jack Demler. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, Coach Lanning, before the playoff run, Dante Moore said that this Indiana game, he treated it a little bigger than it was, but he's learned from that. Now you guys play Indiana again in a much bigger stage with a trip to the national title on the line. How do you, from a coaching perspective, from a coaching standpoint, how do you make sure that your quarterback doesn't treat this game bigger than what it is?
I think when games don't go your way, you're always trying to look for answers and reasons why, and it's really simple. They blocked better, they tackled better, they moved the ball and controlled the clock. They converted third downs. And it was all relatively close going into the fourth quarter, and then we turned the ball over. So you try to find all these moments that, okay, this was the difference. It's every play, right? Every play added up, and every play mattered. When you're playing a team with great technique that has great scheme, like Indiana, that's the edge. But again, I know Dante's trying to find, okay, what are the things that didn't go right and how can he be better? I have a lot of confidence in Dante and the way he preps. And knowing he maybe felt like he forced some things in this first game. He's not the same guy, like I said earlier, at this point in the season.
All right, let's go next to Brett Taylor. Go ahead, Brett.
Hey, Brett Taylor, KZI. Dan, can you hear me okay really quickly?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Dan, for you, you've obviously had a couple of opportunities to face powerhouse teams twice in a season. Washington, obviously, 2023, Ohio State last year. What do you feel like were the biggest lessons you learned in those rematches? And how do you feel like those lessons have helped better prepare you for this rematch against Indiana?
Yeah, I won't get in great detail, but more than anything, stick to your process. I think Coach Cignetti would share the same sentiment of our time with Coach Saban. One thing you learned about, is process, and it's all about process. It's all about making sure you don't go into a game when you're sitting in the position that Indiana's sitting in, or that we're sitting in, and say, "Oh, okay, all of a sudden I'm going to change a lot of the things that we do." You gotta buy into what you've done the whole year to get you where you're at. And really double down. So more than anything, double down on our process. Our guys have been a part of big games. When you play in the Big Ten, you're going to be a part of big games. And every game can go different, right? Every game has a life of itself. So that's what we have to be able to do, is focus on our process, be really obsessed with the details going into a game like this, and put your players in position to have success.
All right, we'll go next to Adam Rittenberg. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, hopefully you get to hear me. I just wanted to know, what you both think of the significance that all four coaches left in the playoff worked for Coach Saban, and just the connectivity, even though you guys were all there at different times, that everyone's connected to him.
All right, Coach Cignetti, please.
Well, yeah, 4 for 4. I think everybody learned a lot from Nick. He was a great mentor. very organized, detailed, had a plan for everything, managed lead, how to stop complacency, game day recruiting evaluation, player evaluation. I mean, he had it all. And, if you were serious about your career and wanted to be a head coach one day, you took great notes or great mental notes. So I felt like after 1 year with Coach Saban, you know, I'd learned more about how to run a program than I maybe did the previous 27 as an assistant coach, and stayed with him for 3 more years. So there's a lot of disciples out there doing well, and that's why he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I just echo that. In my time, I was working at Sam Houston State before I went to Alabama, and was going to take a pay cut to go be a GA there. And when anybody asked me why, I said I'm going to get my doctorate in football, and that's what I feel like. Working for Coach Saban, just like Coach said, you learn so much. Things I thought I knew, I realized I didn't know anything, and I got to really carry that over with the opportunity to work with Coach Smart, who built off of that as well at Georgia. And that was an unbelievable experience for me. And obviously it shows here as we enter the semifinals.
All right, we'll take our next question from Dana O'Neill from CNN. Go ahead, Dana.
Thank you. This is for both coaches. You both mentioned about, kind of entertaining recruits while you're trying to coach for a semifinal position here. And I'm just curious, with all of these, everyone coming in January, how much significantly better do you think teams are from all of this, the chaos that's created from it?
All right, let's start with Coach Lanning this time, please.
Yeah, what I'll say is our players. I don't know if it makes you better dealing with what we're dealing with, but what it has made football teams and what it's made coaches and players is we can handle chaos, and we're really malleable. We understand that college football right now is about change. There's going to be a lot of change. The teams that can do the best at adapting and handling what's thrown at you, we don't make the rules. We just have to adapt to them, and our guys handle that. They're tough kids. They can handle the chaos of a schedule as much as we can keep it similar and consistent for them, as much as we can be open and honest with them. I think they can handle almost anything you pitch at them. And really, coaching staffs are built that way now too. There's a lot of things going on. We're dealing with, two coaches on our staff that are going on to be head coaches, and the timing isn't necessarily perfect, but it's been done before. And it's a great challenge. So I think if you look at the chaos in football and look at it as a challenge for your players and for your coaching staff, you build people that are resilient, you build people that are adaptable, and you build an organization that can withstand, a lot of the changes that exist.
Coach Cignetti?
Yeah, I'd agree with that totally. You got to adjust, adapt, and improvise, and be light on your feet. I'm not sure it necessarily affects the current team at all because the schedule will be the schedule. It obviously influences the 26 roster quite a bit. I think that's what you're seeing is a lot of new faces on every team across the country. Players have a lot more options and the ability to improve their brand. It puts a little more stress on the coaching staff right now this time of year. If you're still playing, and there's only 4 of us really playing in the playoffs, there might be a couple other bowl games remaining. So I guess the teams that aren't playing maybe have a little bit more of an advantage right now from a recruiting standpoint. But you got to make time for it. You got to get it done, do the best you can. But the focus primarily has to be on the preparation for this game.
All right, we'll take our next question from Nick Hamilton. Go ahead, Nick.
Nick Hamilton, Nightcast Media. This question is for Coach Lanning. Coach Lanning, how have you seen your defense continue to evolve throughout the course of the season, through the wins and even through the playoff run, both physically and mentally?
Yeah, the growth's been pretty standard, right? It's been pretty consistent for our team, throughout. Like I said, none of the teams that are still around have not gotten better. We've improved. We're tackling, at a higher clip, but it wasn't even 2 games ago that we didn't tackle that well versus JMU. So we got a lot to work on. We got a lot to improve. We're nowhere near a finished product, and that's part of what makes the game of football great is that there's always room to get better. Even in a game, you can look at the scoreboard of our last game and say, "Oh, we played unbelievable defense," and I can tell you 5 things we got to do better right now from that game. So for us, it's about consistent improvement and continue to attack what we can do better as a staff and as a team.
All right, thanks. We'll go back to Michael Niziolek. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, Curt, are you letting players that go into the portal or are planning to go into the portal kind of stay with the team through the CFP? And then you mentioned obviously the challenges kind of hosting of all those transfers with the portal open this round. Kind of what's the key to sort of balance it? You mentioned obviously game plan's got to come first, but how have you kind of tried to kind of approach it with the staff to try to manage that workload and all the things that you have to get accomplished?
Right. Yeah. We've had a few players go in the portal, and we would like them to continue to practice. A few have chosen to go home and won't be with us this week. I don't think that's going to present, a problem for us in terms of our preparation. The thing about the portal guys, they're a little different than the high school guys. They don't need 48 hours on campus. It's usually one night. They're making a business decision. They're normally older guys. They've been through it. They know what they're looking for. You're a fit or you're not. And so, from a coach's standpoint, yesterday, because we got back at 3:30 in the morning from the Rose Bowl, I gave the coaches and the players off. Now, I was in the office about 8 or 9 hours because I knew, what I was looking at here. The position coaches may have one, two, three guys in at their position that they'll have to have a position meeting with, whereas I'm going to have to visit with 12, 13 guys, right? So I knew I was going to lose 6, 7, 8 hours. So I tried to make that up yesterday and, have a few meetings this evening and a few tomorrow morning. And then, it'll be 100% focus on our prep.
All right, we'll take our next question going back to Matt Prem. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, excuse me. Both coaches, just both your teams play with an abundance of confidence. How do you develop that? How do you get your players to feel that way and just the importance of that?
All right, Coach Lanning first, please.
Players create confidence. Coaches support it, right? They go out there by doing it and failing, right? You make mistakes and then you challenge yourself to say, okay, I don't want to make the same mistake again. And mistakes can be a really good thing, right? Especially when you have the self-awareness to recognize it. And you'd like those mistakes to happen in practice. And then you'd like to have guys that are hungry enough to say, okay, I'm really good at this. Let me not spend all my time at practice working on this. Let me go work on what I'm not good at. And once you start doing that, whether it's a quarterback seeing a coverage or it's a defensive lineman trying to work a certain technique, and you can create repetition, you can create confidence.
And Coach Cignetti.
I think confidence and belief come from when you're prepared, totally prepared, and get the result you're looking for. And that's why it's important to have a blueprint and a plan. This business is all about development, recruiting, and retention. You got to have high standards, expectations, accountability throughout your entire organization. You got to have the right people on your staff and in the locker room. And, you improve every single day. Like this week, it'll be important that we can stack meetings, practices, and days so that, we're totally prepared to play 1 to 150 at 7:30 on Friday night, and then play the way we want them to play. And I think when guys prepare correctly, that's their best chance to be successful. And when they become successful, they develop more confidence and belief, and it becomes sort of a snowball effect. And that's the way it's worked for us. But it's always been in the here and now, controlling the controllables, focused on your preparation, eliminating the noise and the clutter, so that you go in 100% prepared, which gives yourself the best chance of being successful.
All right, we'll go next to James Crepia. Go ahead, James.
Dan, who takes over as the number 2 nickel and dime right now? And as much as you've been leaning on Jaden, do you have to lean on him that much more, almost like Taishim a year ago, with you guys getting thinner in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, I'm probably going to play it, James. But if I'm not able to go, we'll put one of the other coaches out there.
Okay. All right, let's try Mike Schumann this time. Mike?
Coach Cignetti, I know you challenged Fernando to not allow the Heisman moment to, play into the way he played at the Rose Bowl, and I suspect you were pretty happy with the way he handled everything. But what is your impression of how he, managed through that whole process and how he performed, given the Heisman label at the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, he did a great job preparing like he always does. He was the same guy. We had not played a game in 3.5 weeks. So, maybe the speed of the game, the first play of the game, was a play he normally would have made. And then, they did an all-out blitz and kind of got us on third down. But after that, I mean, he was tremendous. He had more touchdown passes and incompletions. He used his legs to make plays like he's done all year. And he was 100% on point. And then we got the run game going, and we didn't need his arm quite as much. Eat the clock, get out of the game. And, I'd give him an A+. I mean, he's player of the game on offense.
All right, we'll go next to Zach Neal. Go ahead, Zach.
Dan, you've talked about some of the difficulties that the schedule presents with the transfer portal right now. What are those conversations like with players when you're hoping that they might stay around and act as a rotational piece for you, but also know that they, need their own self-interest in mind and have other things to do with the portal?
Yeah, each one's different. There's some guys that come in and I share the same sentiment as them, and that they might have an opportunity to be able to make an impact somewhere else. Some guys come in and you hate to see them go. We've been really fortunate to be able to hang on to the players that we really want to be here and have success. And then some of them you see them walked out the door and you just hope that they have a better opportunity wherever they move next. The grass isn't always greener, and that's something that you have to figure out in life at times. But that's one of the life lessons that exists right now in college ball. But every conversation is different. The one thing I expect from our guys is to have that conversation.
All right, we've got time for two or three more. Let's go next. We'll go back to Jeff Rabjohns.
Yeah, Coach Cignetti, this is for you. I wanted to get your thoughts on Pat Coogan, the way he played, and we didn't get a chance to ask you specifically, but as a coach, your thoughts on seeing your center win Offensive MVP of the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I thought the MVP of the Rose Bowl in my mind was the whole offensive line. And Pat Coogan's one of the leaders on the offensive line. I think Kirk Herbstreit said that he had a big role in choosing that. He made a good decision. But I thought our line really played well, very aggressive, snapped the whistle, finished plays, and Coogan, of course, is making all the calls and a key guy there, and he played well. He played well also. But in general, we did a really nice job of protecting the quarterback. There were a couple situations, but in the run game, we got that going. Our backs ran really hard. Our receivers blocked. And, it was a good day on offense.
Thanks.
All right, let's go next to Zach Osterman. Go ahead, Zach.
Kurt, I wanted to follow up on Fernando. You've talked about his ability to kind of move in the pocket and be mobile enough to extend plays. How valuable is it, though? I think he had something like 5 scrambles in the Rose Bowl and 4 went for first downs. And 1 might have been designed, but some of those were also maybe him taking those opportunities. How much does it change what a quarterback can kind of do for an offense when, even if not maybe he's a full dual threat guy like Fernando, he can just keep extending plays and he can always threaten a defense with sort of productive runs?
To me, that's the winning edge. I mean, when you look at a quarterback, obviously he's got to have, throwing ability and be able to process, but the ability to extend plays, whether it's with his legs or once he's out of the pocket with his arm, his eyes downfield. I mean, that's the key. A guy that cannot extend plays, you really become vulnerable. And, Fernando's ability to make plays with his legs, boy, I can't even count the number of times in big games this year where his legs have come through and extended drives.
All right, I think we've got time for maybe 2 more. Let's go next to Brett Taylor. Go ahead, Brett.
This is for both coaches. This will obviously be the 3rd straight year that a Big Ten team, one way or another, from either of you, will make it to the national championship game. I think 4th time in the last 5 years. What do you feel like that says about the Big Ten Conference and what it's been able to do in the last handful of years? And how do you feel like your conference schedule has really helped prepare you guys to be able to achieve a feat like this?
All right, let's start with Coach Cignetti this time, please.
Well, I've only been in the league 2 years, so I'm not sure I'm the one to answer this question. I know that Michigan won it 3 years ago. That was a great football team. Ohio State was equally as great last season. You got 2 teams playing in the semis, so one of us is going to be in the national championship game, and I certainly hope the Big Ten can claim, that prize. Oregon's a great football team, but the Big Ten's a great conference, a lot of good teams top to bottom. And, that's a great thing about the playoffs. You give 12 teams a chance to win it all. And at the end of the day, there's one standing.
Coach Lanning?
Yeah, I just share the sentiment. I've been a part of the SEC, just like Coach Cignetti has. I've been a part of the old Pac-12. I've been a part of a bunch of different conferences, and it's hard to argue that anybody's doing it better right now than the Big Ten. There's some quality from top to bottom. Obviously, the national championship teams have come from this conference the last 2 years, and the landscape has changed. It's certainly 5 years ago there was another conference that was rolling and dominating, and I think the way you indicate that is the success of the teams in the conference. And there's a lot of teams that have had success in a variety of different teams. Coach just mentioned it, but we saw Michigan and Washington a couple years ago in the national championship game. You see Ohio State. This year you'll see a different Big Ten team, and I think that speaks to the quality and the strength of the conference overall.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We'll take our final question from Sammy Jacobs. Go ahead, Sammy.
This is for both coaches. You guys are traveling. Dan, you went from Oregon to Miami, back to Oregon to Georgia. And Coach Cignetti, you went out to California. How difficult is the travel on both the schedule and then recovery of your athletes?
All right. Coach Lanning, please.
It's not bad.
All right, Coach Cignetti.
I'll echo that sentiment.
All right, I don't know that we can end on that. Let's give it. All right. Dan Tortora, bring us home, buddy.
Well, we've heard a lot about the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness and all those pieces. But when we're looking at the culture of these teams, just what you can say to that effect, the family over self, because there's a reason why you get to where you get to and to have success like you've both had. So what you can say about culture and family over simply just looking at the individual self.
All right. Coach Cignetti, please.
I think when you look at our team, you got a number of veterans, guys that played a lot of football, but high character guys that are good players. And this is a very, very close team that plays for one another, trusts one another. And we got a lot of guys on this football team who are going to do real well in life. And this special group.
Yeah, Coach Lanning.
I'd share the same sentiment. I think to get to this point in this season, culture is a word that's overused, certainly in our sport, but you don't get to this point if you're not able to be selfless. And those are the lessons you try to teach in football. You have to think of the group and the team over yourself. And to be at this point, that means there's a lot of players that made that decision. And you have to realize that individual success is going to come from team success. I think if you look at both of our teams, you see a lot of guys that are having a ton of individual success. And it all started with somebody else around them helping them have that success. There's no great quarterback without great O-line play. There's no great secondary play without great D-line play. And that's what's great about the sport, about football, is the quicker your team can realize that, the team and connection are going to be separating factors, the quicker you're going to have success. And we've certainly been able to create some of that here at Oregon. And obviously Indiana's been able to create the same thing.
All right, we're going to wrap it up right there. To both coaches, guys, I know it's a busy time. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. We're off to a great start. Good luck with your prep, and we look forward to seeing you guys in a few days.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, for the media still on the call, just a couple of quick reminders. End of the day today is the final credential deadline. So if you do not have your credential requests in our system, please do so as quickly as you can today. We're getting pretty tight on space. Also, remember, we've got the media hotel booking deadline is coming up as well. So if you have that link from your approval email, please go ahead and get your room booked at the media hotel. We're here to help. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or anybody on my staff. Great call today. We're looking forward to hosting you guys in Atlanta. Try to make this a great bowl experience for you as well. And good luck. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.